Hello again! So in this video I want to talk about committing and freezing tracks in Pro Tools. So those are very useful tools when you want to, for example, open your session that has a lot of cool plugins on a computer that doesn't have those plugins. So let me show you how that works. So let's freeze a track first. So for example, here I have a very simple drums and bass kind of thing. Let's listen to it. All right, so I have this bass track and it also has a reverb send. So if I want to freeze this track, I can just right click on it and go to freeze. And then that is going to generate an audio file. So now you can see the waveform, right? So first this track was a virtual instrument track and it had MIDI notes to it, but now it is an audio track, a temporary audio track. Now, since I froze it, I cannot make tweaks on the plugin, but this plugin is going to open just fine on a different computer. Now, let's say that I bring the session to a different studio, I record everything that I want, and then later when I come back home, I can unfreeze the track. So I just right click, go to unfreeze, and then now I can make the adjustments again. Another option is to commit the track. So committing is good for when you're pretty sure about the settings that you have on those plugins. So for example, my drums track here, I have a virtual instrument and then I also have a compressor. So if I want to commit to it, I can right click and click on commit. And then I have several options here. So for example, if I have any volume or mute automation on this track, I can have that information be rendered onto this new track, or I can have it be copied to the other one. So let me give you an example. If I write a simple volume automation here on this track, so let's say in the beginning, I'm going to bring it down by 20 dB. And then now I right click and click on commit. I can select volume and mute. And let's hit OK and see what happens. And there you go. I have my new track. Now it's an audio file that includes the virtual instrument and the compressor. And the automation was rendered into this new audio file. Now another option is, so let me Command Z that, is to just right click, hit on commit, and then uncheck the render automation. In this case, the volume automation is going to be copied to this other track, but it's not going to be rendered into this new audio file. So let me hit OK. All right, so this is the new track. And if I click here on volume, I can see that automation was copied, right? And you have several options. If you click here on commit, you can hide the original track and make it inactive, or you can delete it, or you can do nothing. So in this case, I'm not doing anything. So I'm going to end up with 2 tracks. But then I can just go ahead and hide and make the previous one inactive so that I don't have a duplicate. And now I have a new audio track, and that track is going to open just fine on any computer, whether or not they have the plugins that I used. Another option is to commit to a certain insert. So in this case, let's say that I'm pretty sure the studio that I'm going to has the API 2500, and I want to be able to tweak it when I'm there, but they don't have battery for. So in this case, I can just commit to that plugin. So I right click on the plugin and then commit up to this insert. Then I'm going to have the same options. This time I'm going to hide and make the track inactive. So I hit OK. And there you go. So now it just rendered the virtual instrument. It did not render the settings that I have on the compressor, so I can still open the compressor and tweak it. And my previous track is here on the tracks list. So I can click on it and activate it if I wish to go back to the original. All right, so very useful tool. Now the same thing applies to freezing. So you can always freeze up to a certain insert. So for example, let's say that I have a distortion plugin. So I know that the studio that I'm going to, or the friend that I'm transferring this session to, have that distortion plugin, but they don't have vacuum, for example. So I can just click here and freeze up to this insert. So now the virtual instrument part of it is frozen. I cannot tweak it unless I unfreeze it, but I still have access to the distortion plugin, so I can tweak it there. All right, another reason why you would want to commit or freeze is to save computer resources. So let's say that you have a session that has 100 tracks and each one has 6 plugins. At some point, maybe your computer is going to start slowing down. So you can select the tracks that have the most processing hungry plugins and freeze those. And then that is going to free up some processing power from your computer. Now, I totally recommend either freezing or committing the tracks that have plugins that you're not sure people are going to have on the other end, right? There is nothing more frustrating than opening a session and then there's a bunch of plugins missing. So if you're not sure, freeze or commit the track just in case. All right, so that's it. Thank you for watching.